Today, I'm going to list 13 risky foods for your blood sugar that might spike your levels even more than sugar itself. Hey there, I'm Matthew. I'm a qualified biochemist with an interest in all things health and science. So you know that consuming refined sugar spikes your blood glucose levels, and over time, this can lead to insulin resistance, to diabetes, and a whole host of health problems. But did you know that similar dangers lurk in many seemingly harmless foods? Intermittent surges in blood sugar can wreak havoc on your metabolic health. While refined sugar is a well-known culprit with a glycemic index typically around 60 to 65, many everyday foods that you are consuming, often perceived as healthy or benign, boast high GI levels and can force a rapid insulin response. And studies have quantified the effects. For example, white bread often has a GI of about 75, meaning it can elevate blood sugar levels more steeply than table sugar. Astounding, I know. So here are 13 foods that might be sabotaging your blood sugar control. White bread, it tops our list. The refining process strips it of fiber and of all its nutrients, leaving a carbohydrate-dense food with a GI of around 75. This means that a serving of white bread can raise blood glucose levels significantly faster than refined sugar. One study comparing carbohydrate sources found that white bread induces a glucose response approximately 15 to 20% higher than that of table sugar under similar circumstances. So the key insight here is to choose whole grain or sprouted bread instead. These options provide more fiber and slow the release of glucose into your bloodstream. Often considered a hearty breakfast option, bagels are dense in refined carbohydrates and surprisingly low in fiber. With GI values hovering around 70 to 75, they break down quickly into sugars in the body, causing a rapid spike in blood glucose. Research has shown that consuming a bagel can lead to a blood sugar rise similar to that of white bread, with a comparable insulin response. So, if you love your bagels, try topping them with a protein or healthy fat to moderate carbohydrate absorption. White rice, especially varieties like jasmine rice, are notorious for their high GI content, often in the range of 70 to 80. The processing removes most of the natural fiber, causing the carbohydrates to be absorbed rapidly, much like refined sugar. Comparisons indicate that a standard serving of white rice can spike blood sugar levels nearly as quickly as a sugary beverage, depending on the rice variety and obviously the portion size. So consider substituting white rice with whole grains like brown rice or quinoa, which offer more fiber and a steadier glucose release. While fresh potatoes offer nutrients and a considerable amount of fiber, instant mashed potatoes are more problematic. Processing increases their GI to around 80, meaning your blood sugar can spike even more quickly than when consuming whole, less processed potatoes. Studies show that instant mashed potatoes produce a higher postprandial blood sugar spike compared to boiled potatoes, due to reduced fiber and altered starch structure. So the key here is to opt for fresh boiled or baked potatoes to enjoy a lower GI and a more gradual increase in blood sugar. French fries were always going to be on this list. They combine the risks of processed carbohydrates with high unhealthy fat content. The deep frying process converts otherwise moderate GI potatoes into high glycemic load food, often pushing the effective GI to 75 or higher. Data indicates that the combination of refined starch and unhealthy fat in fries delays digestion slightly, but still leads to significant glucose surges shortly after consumption. So when craving fries, try baking or air frying your own potatoes with the skin on to benefit from extra fiber and a lower glycemic impact. Often marketed as a low-calorie snack, rice cakes are highly processed and nearly void of fiber. Their carbohydrate content is absorbed rapidly, resulting in a glucose spike that can rival more sugary options. Although rice cakes might have a similar GI to white bread, their low fiber content means that even a small serving can provoke a swift blood sugar response. So for a more balanced snack, pair rice cakes with a protein source or a healthy fat, or opt for snacks naturally richer in fiber. Refined pasta, especially when overcooked, can be surprisingly risky. The GI of overcooked pasta can approach 70, meaning that it loses its benefit of a lower digestion rate. Studies demonstrate that cooking pasta al dente results in a lower GI, around 50 to 55, while overcooked pasta can see a significant rise, leading to quicker blood sugar spikes. So to mitigate this, opt for whole grain pasta or cook your pasta al dente to help maintain a lower glycemic response. Not all oatmeal is created equal. Instant oatmeal packets, often sweetened and made from highly processed oats, carry a GI of around 65 to 75 compared to steel-cut oats, which generally score in the 50s. Research shows that the rapid digestion of instant oatmeal leads to a swift rise in blood glucose, nearly matching or exceeding that of refined sugar in some cases. So the key here is to make oatmeal from scratch, using less processed oats, and enhance it with fiber-rich toppings like berries or nuts. Now, bananas are a natural whole food, yes, but they can also pose a risk due to their relatively high GI, typically around 51, but in very ripe bananas it can approach 60, while lower than some other items on this list. In large quantities, or when consumed on an empty stomach, bananas can cause notable blood sugar spikes. Comparative studies have found that while bananas generally cause a more moderate glucose increase than something like white bread, for example, the effect can be amplified by ripeness and portion size, making them a variable risk factor. So, it's important to pair bananas with a protein source, like nuts or a yogurt, to lower their glycemic impact. Baked goods are notorious for their hidden sugars and refined carbohydrates. Even if they don't taste overly sweet, their combination of ingredients often results in a GI of 70 or more, leading to a surge in blood sugar similar to that of direct sugar consumption. Clinical trials have demonstrated that even a small pastry can provoke a rapid insulin response, sometimes exceeding that observed with an equivalent calorie load from pure sugar. So, when indulging in baked goods, seek those made with whole grains and reduced sugar, or simply enjoy smaller portions to mitigate the impact. Sweetened yogurt might seem like a healthy snack due to its probiotic content, but added sugars can push its effective GI into a higher range, often around 60 to 70. This can trigger significant glucose spikes, overshadowing the natural benefits of the yogurt. Comparative analyses reveal that sweetened yogurts can cause postprandial glucose responses nearly equivalent to a light sugary snack, especially when consumed without added protein. So choose plain unsweetened yogurt and add natural fruit to control sugar levels and maintain a balanced glycemic response. A less common and surprising but equally risky option is instant couscous. This quick cooking grain is highly processed and its GI can be around 65, similar to that of white rice. The reduction in fiber content means that the carbohydrates are absorbed rapidly, leading to a quick spike in blood sugar levels. Studies have found that instant couscous produces a post-meal glucose rise comparable to other refined grains, emphasizing the importance of fiber in moderating glycemic responses. So consider traditional couscous instead, or other whole grains that are less processed and retain their natural fiber, providing a more moderate glycemic response. And finally, while marketed for hydration and energy, sports drinks are loaded with simple carbohydrates and sugars, often yielding a GI that mimics or even exceeds that of fizzy drinks. Their rapid absorption makes them a risky choice for spiking blood glucose levels. In controlled tests, consumption of sports drinks has led to blood glucose increases similar to those observed with high-sugar soft drinks, highlighting the need for caution. So for hydration, opt for water with a pinch of salt and a splash of lemon, or choose electrolyte solutions that rely on natural, unsweetened ingredients. So these 13 foods demonstrate that many everyday options can indeed spike your blood sugar as dramatically or even more so than refined sugar, with evidence from scientific studies showing that white bread, bananas, and even instant couscous can provide significant glycemic responses. It is absolutely clear that mindful food choices are critical for long-term metabolic health. Well, hopefully this episode gave you food for thought, pun intended. If you enjoyed this episode, please like, subscribe, and share with other people who you think might get value from these episodes. And while you're there, check out this other video right here.